However, there is an old saying, too much honesty can be somewhat harmful. This suggests that kindness does not necessarily lead to good outcomes. There is a historical anecdote about Ko Jun, a respected official during the Northern Song dynasty, who was well regarded by later generations. While he was excellent in handling state affairs, he struggled with interpersonal harmony due to his blunt manner of speaking. An example of this is found in the Ziji Tongjian by Sima Guang, which records an incident involving Ko Jun and Ding Wei, the deputy minister of personnel. During a court banquet, Ko Jun accidentally got soup on his beard. Ding Wei, with good intentions, stood up to gently clean it for him. However, Ko Jun thought Ding Wei was deliberately trying to embarrass him in front of the officials. He sarcastically remarked to Ding Wei, "As a high-ranking official of the country, why are you only concerned with cleaning my beard?" As a result, Ding Wei harbored resentment against Ko Jun and opposed him vehemently. Ding Wei even allied with Wang Shenruo, who had already been envious of Ko Jun, and other officials who had been criticized or ridiculed by Ko Jun. They frequently spoke ill of Ko Jun in front of the emperor. Over time, even the emperor began to view Ko Jun as lacking in communication skills, which led to the end of Ko Jun's political career. He was exiled and eventually died in poor health in Luizhou. Ko Jun's remark, although seemingly a jest, was actually a blunt satire. Ding Wei, as a subordinate, naturally felt embarrassed. Ko Jun's downfall stemmed from his overly blunt communication and lack of understanding of the art of conversation. Honesty is a valuable quality, but straightforwardness needs to be considered and adjusted to avoid negative reactions. A gentleman should be sincere and generous, but this does not mean speaking bluntly without strategy, as long as the initial goal is achieved. Indirect communication is often more acceptable to the majority because it puts oneself in the position of the other person, considers their feelings, and conveys meaning in a more gentle manner. A typical example of conveying meaning subtly and skillfully is the story of Yu Qian and Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Yu Qian, an entertainer from the Qin state, though small in stature, was highly skilled in the art of indirect speech and often managed to convey profound principles through playful remarks. One day, during a court banquet hosted by Emperor Qin Shi Huang, it was raining heavily. While the performers were performing inside the palace, the guards had to endure the rain and wind outside. Seeing this, Yu Qian felt sympathy for the guards and asked if they would like a rest. The guards unanimously expressed their desire for a break. Yu Qian then told the performers that if he called them, they should respond promptly. A while later, when Emperor Qin Shi Huang turned towards the large balcony, Yu Qian called out to the guards. The guards responded in unison. Yu Qian continued, "Though you are tall, what use is it? You can only stand out in the rain. I, though small, am fortunate enough to rest here." Emperor Qin Shi Huang then realized his mistake and understood that Yu Qian was using self-deprecation to criticize him. Consequently, the emperor ordered that the guards' working hours be reduced by half. On another occasion, when Emperor Qin Shi Huang planned to expand the royal garden eastward to Hankou Pass and westward to Yongchen, turning thousands of acres of farmland into pasture, many senior officials submitted memorials advising against it, criticizing the project as a waste of effort and resources. The emperor was displeased and angry, asserting that the world belonged to him and ordering the execution of anyone who dared to dissent. Upon hearing this, Yu Qian seized the opportunity to approach the emperor, who was in a good mood. Yu Qian asked, "I heard that your majesty wishes to expand the royal garden. Is that true?" Emperor Qin Shi Huang affirmed that it was. Yu Qian then said, "Expanding the royal garden will attract more birds and animals. If enemies attack from the east, we could use these large and small deer to fight them off." Emperor Qin Shi Huang laughed at Yu Qian's words. However, upon further reflection for the sake of the country's security, the emperor decided not to proceed with the expansion. This illustrates the effectiveness of skillful persuasion. Everyone has self-respect and believes that their decisions and thoughts are correct. No one likes to be outrightly rejected without maintaining their dignity. Often, not considering the circumstances and methods of persuasion and relying solely on one's goodwill can make others feel uncomfortable or resistant. Each person has the ability to introspect and self-regulate, and they often reconsider their words, actions, and judgments. Therefore, when advising others, we need to not only stand on the basis of reason, but also consider the perspective of the other party. Persuading skillfully means achieving the goal of making the other person understand and follow our intentions. Why use blunt methods that hurt both the other person and oneself? Taking a roundabout approach to avoid direct confrontation, starting from the most widely acceptable point in communication, overcoming communication barriers to achieve clarity is often more effective. Wisdom in speech is not merely about being blunt to criticize an issue, but rather about expressing oneself in a way that allows the listener to grasp profound and thought-provoking truths from the meaning behind the words. Sincerity and eloquence, self-cultivation and knowledge are all reflected in speech, and only then does one truly embody grace and elegance, demonstrating restraint and avoiding extremism or overexcitement. When interacting with others, speak a third and keep 2/3 for yourself. Words are limited, but their meaning is vast. Deep feelings are often conveyed through what is unsaid. The significance hidden behind the words is the true art of communication. Speaking a third of what is necessary is not a sign of lacking wisdom, but rather a way to point out the faults of others while preserving their dignity. It can even move people's hearts. Speaking a third is not about cunning or insincerity, but about appropriate self-cultivation. Before speaking, it is important to clearly understand the audience. If the relationship is still superficial, trying to be overly familiar can show a lack of tact. Discussing personal matters with someone who is not yet a close friend can be too intrusive. Delving into state affairs without understanding the other party's position can lead to trouble. As the saying goes, speaking inappropriately to someone is called a slip of the tongue. Therefore, speaking a third is not about the inability to speak, but about knowing when or what not to say. Knowing when to stop and always being able to grasp moderation, leaving oneself a way out, is crucial. Show a third and keep 2/3 in reserve. No matter how things develop, there will always be enough space and time to manage the situation. There is a story about a soldier who received a small stipend each month. He always saved this money to send back to his poor parents in the countryside. Later, he married a wife who was not only beautiful and dignified, but also the daughter of a high-ranking military officer. Naturally, their wedding attracted special attention. Although their married life was very happy, people felt that a refined young lady and a poor soldier being together could not avoid the possibility of the young lady exhibiting some spoiled behavior. After the marriage, the soldier continued to save his monthly stipend to send home. But he chose not to tell his wife, fearing that she might not understand his filial piety and could develop unnecessary concerns. Thus, he always secretly sent the money home without his wife knowing. He was well aware that this money was significant for his parents in the countryside, but it could also be a potential source of discord in their family. Later, his younger brother wrote asking to borrow money for his own wedding. Without hesitation, the soldier took out several hundred coins as usual, put them in an envelope with a letter, and prepared to send it home. However, that day he accidentally left the envelope in his pocket, and due to being busy, he forgot about it. His wife, while washing his clothes, did not check the pockets and soaked them in water. After washing and preparing to hang them up, she discovered the envelope. She quickly took it out, saw the money inside, and read the letter. After reading it, his wife understood the situation. That evening, when her husband returned home, she apologized. "I'm sorry, I forgot to check the pockets when washing the clothes. The letter got wet, and since it was quite thick, I was afraid it might not dry properly, so I opened it." But she did not mention the money. Her husband felt uneasy, thought for a moment, and eventually told his wife about sending the money home. He had expected this to lead to a quarrel between them, but to his surprise, his wife simply said, "Sending money like this isn't safe. It can easily get lost. Next time, let's transfer it to your parents directly. If you find it inconvenient, you can give the money to me and I'll help you with the transfer." Since then, their family life remained warm and happier than ever. Typically, when we notice that someone has made a clear mistake and want to help them correct it quickly, we might say, "Look, you just made this mistake. You need to see this and that." You might expect them to appreciate your help, but the outcome can be surprising and even perplexing. They adamantly refuse to admit their mistake, let alone thank you. You need not blame them for this, as it is quite common. Nearly everyone has this flaw. When others point out their mistakes, especially in a direct manner, most people feel uncomfortable. They react with a resistance that seems almost incredulous. This resistance compels them to reject your criticism or feedback, even if they clearly understand your intentions. On the other hand, for educators, leaving space by speaking only a third is an opportunity for students to reflect and think for themselves. There is a story illustrating this. A principal of a talent development school once examined a female student. She had forgotten to include a punctuation mark in her essay, resulting in a deduction of points by the teacher. After the exam papers were returned, the student secretly added the punctuation and then went to the teacher to request additional points. Although the principal noticed the issue, he still granted her request for extra points. However, he circled the punctuation mark in red ink. The student understood the principal's message and felt deeply embarrassed. Many years later, after growing up and becoming successful, she visited the principal and said that after that incident, she resolved to study diligently and became an honest person. The principal's correct marking and his silence were not without principle, nor were they insincere. On the contrary, they represented a perfect combination of educational skill and compassion. In fact, it was a subtle hint. I know what the truth is, and this is also a warning. This is a one-time exception. There will be no next time. Thus, it not only did not hinder the correction of the mistake, but also encouraged the student to gain a deeper understanding of how to conduct oneself. Speaking a third of what is needed is a quality that requires cultivation for ordinary people. In life, for certain professions, it pertains to professional ethics and even job safety. For instance, a doctor should not disclose any information about a patient's medical condition, especially to outsiders. This is a matter of professional ethics for doctors or those in confidential roles. They should only share a third of the information, which could be about personal matters, daily life, astronomy, geography, or folklore, information that is not critical. Although these stories can be very interesting and enjoyable, they are essentially trivial and do not lead to unnecessary complications. Conversation is an art that can either enhance or undermine the future. Once spoken, words leave a subtle aftertaste, allowing the listener to reflect on them. This approach not only alleviates the rigidity caused by excessive talking, but also hones the listener's ability to discern sounds, enhancing self-reflection and self-correction. The benefits of precise and appropriate expression are clear, so why not embrace it? In summary, speaking should be adapted to the situation, and actions should align with the timing, emphasizing that in communication and conduct, one needs to listen and observe the context to adjust behavior and speech accordingly. The skill in communication lies not only in speaking correctly, but also in knowing how to tailor one's speech to fit the circumstances and the audience. Excessive bluntness can be hurtful and counterproductive, while subtly indirect communication can achieve goals more gracefully. Moreover, speaking a third of what is necessary and keeping two-thirds for oneself means knowing how to moderate one's speech, leaving space for reflection and self-examination. This reflects wisdom and discernment in communication. By doing so, we not only demonstrate our intellect, but also earn respect and trust from others. Communication is an art that demands subtlety, skill, and understanding. Mastering this art not only helps us build better relationships, but also opens up new opportunities in work and life. We conclude our sharing here. We sincerely thank you for taking your valuable time to listen to this presentation. Once again, we wish you and your families happiness, success, and peace in life. Thank you and goodbye.